Glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Garanga.
Hare Hare Bol.
Namo Krishna Pashtai Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschita Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, The Status Quo, Chapter 13, starting a new chapter, The Appearance of Lord Varaha, Text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Nishamya Vacham Vadato Mune Punyattamam Nripa Bhuya Papracha Goravyo Vasudeva Katajata Shri Shuka Uvacha Nishamya Vacham Vadato Mune Punyattamam Nripa Bhuya Papracha Goravyo Vasudeva Katajata Shri Shuka Uvacha Nishamya Vacham Varato Mune Punyattamam Nripa Bhuya Papracha Koravyo Vasudeva Katajata. Everyone can chant, please.
Shri Shuka Uvacha Nishamya Vacham Vadato Muni Punyatamam Pripa Bhuya Prapacha Kauravyo Vasudeva Kadhadritaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shri Shuka Uvacha Nishamya Vacha Vadato Mune Punyatma Manirapa Bhuya Prapacha Kauravayo Vasudeva Katadritaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Word for word translation. Shri Shuka Uvacha, Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Nishamya, after hearing, Vacham, talks, Vadata, while speaking, Mune, of Maitreya Muni, Punyatamam, the most virtuous, Nripa, O king, Bhuya, then again, Papracha, inquired, Kauravya, the best among the Kurus, Vidura, Vasudeva Kata, topics on the subject of the personality of Godhead, Vasudev. Ajata, one who so adores. Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O king, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adored to hear. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The word ajita is significant because it indicates that Vidura had a natural inclination for hearing the transcendental message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was never fully satisfied, though continuing to hear those topics. He wanted to hear more and more so that he could be more and more blessed by the transcendental message. Shri Shuka Uvacha, Nishamya vacham vadato mune punyatamam nirpa bhuya papra chakoravyo vasudeva katajata. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O king, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adored to hear. And I'm going to read this one sentence from the purport. The word Adrita is significant because it indicates that Vidura had a natural inclination for hearing the transcendental message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he was never fully satisfied, though continuing to hear those topics. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. I was so happy when I got this verse. In the past weeks and months, and even actually the past year, we've been studying in the Bhagavatam so many very deep and interesting topics about the position of Lord Brahma, his development and all the things he went through to achieve the creation. And, we heard the Chatu Shloki in connection with that, with his realization from the Lord and his mistakes, his triumphs and his mistakes. We've been hearing about the Virat Rupa and all the different Ashtanga yoga processes and so many things we've been studying in the second and third canto. And as I've said before in class, and we've heard many times from others, these are very important topics for us to hear, to learn, to understand as a foundation for understanding Krishna consciousness and practicing Krishna consciousness. They're very interesting and they're very important to learn. And yet, when I come to a verse like this, that Vidura is just relishing hearing from the great sage Maitreya, given that all those things are important, we have to study so many things, philosophy and pastimes and so much. But just to hear this sort of simple, unadorned appreciation that he just wanted to hear more and more. Prabhupada in his purport and Srila Vishwanath in his commentary give big importance to this word adrita, that he wants, that Vidura, who is Kauravya, the best of the Kauravas, he was criticized by Duryodhana that, you're basically saying you're not a Kaurava, you're a Sudra, you're lowborn, you're this or that. But Maitreya and Shukadeva understand he's the best of the Kauravas, the best of that race, due to his intelligence, his political understanding, and especially his devotion to Lord Krishna. He's the best of the Kauravas. And how is that manifest? Ajita. He has the greatest respect, the greatest taste, the greatest relish for hearing the topics of Krishna. That's his number one qualification. And because this is not only for him as Kauravya, but as devotees, this also is our number one qualification, to want to hear, go on hearing all the time about Krishna and relishing it, wanting to hear it, enjoying hearing it. I have a friend, a devotee friend. Long ago we were talking, and she was telling me about her brother, and her brother is also a devotee. And they didn't always have her and her brother, she and her brother didn't always have the greatest relationship. And she said something very interesting that stuck with me. She said about her brother, I love him, but I don't like him. So that I thought about that what she said, this was actually many years ago, back when I lived at Gitanagari, said that, but it always stuck with me that, okay, it's my brother, so it's official. He's my brother. We share some genetic material, or we grew up together, so I love him. It's official, but I don't like him. So also we're devotees, we're members of ISKCON. Maybe we shave our head or we wear tilak, we go to temple, we chant, we're devotees. So yes, of course, I love Krishna. But sometimes that could be just an official thing. Yes, I love Krishna, but do you like Krishna? If Krishna is somewhere, do you think, oh, I want to go there because I like that. I like hearing about Krishna. I like seeing Krishna in the temple. I like serving Krishna. It's not enough to just have an official position of love because we're devotees, because we've typecast ourselves as devotees. So do we like Krishna? And this is the test. There's so many tests. This is an important test. Do we like Krishna? Do we want to hear about Krishna? And when we hear about Krishna, do we relish it? Do we enjoy it? And do we want to do it more and more? Vidura, it said he was never satisfied. Vidura, he's spending the whole second and third canto hearing about Krishna, and he's not satisfied. More and more. Let's look at the materialists. The materialists, they're also never satisfied. Bhagavad Gita says, what's that? Avritam jnanam etena, jnani no nitya vairina. That those whose intelligence is covered, they have nitya vairina. They are attacked. Those whose intelligence is covered in material life, they're attacked by an eternal enemy, nitya vairina. Kama rupena konteya. Krishna tells Arjuna that lust, this is the eternal enemy, lust. And what's the symptom? Dushparena nalena cha. That dushparena, that as much as you try to satisfy your lust, as much as you try to continually, day after day, year after year, you try to gratify your senses, dushparena, you're never satisfied. Dushpurena, this is a nice word. Dushpura, do means like not or bad. If something is bad or badly done, it's do. And do pura. Pura is related to the same root as the Sanskrit word purna. Purna means full or complete. So dushpurena means from sense gratification, you never feel fulfilled. You never feel satisfied. You never feel complete from that. You take your favorite thing, thinking of food, for example, pizza or gulabjamins. And oh, I love gulabjamins. When I was a young devotee in Boston, we had a gulabjamin eating contest. And I don't remember the exact number, but I ate more than 30 gulabjamins, which just hearing about it now gives me a bellyache. But although I still love gulabjamins,
God.
1, 2, 3, sometimes 4,
Yeah.
when they cross my path. But after eating those 30 gulabjamins, it was prasad, of course, so there's that. But how much more can you eat? Or pizza, how many slices can you eat before you start losing your taste for it? How much sex can you have over and over before you start losing your taste or being frustrated by the lack of happiness of it? All of these things, dushparena. And not only not satisfied, dushparena analena cha, analena, and it burns like fire. Because that attempt to gratify the senses is itself the cause of materialistic life. It not only lacks the positive quality of satisfying you, but it possesses the negative quality of burning like fire, because that's what entangles us in the material world. So to a materialist, he's never satisfied, he's never fulfilled with sense gratification. And the devotee, he's also never satisfied, he's never fulfilled in his relish of Krishna Katha. A devotee a devotee of that caliber never thinks, oh, I've chanted enough. I don't need to chant anymore. Oh, I've read enough. I don't need to read Prabhupada's books anymore. I already read, Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't need to read anymore. The devotee is also never satisfied, like Vidura, never satisfied. Let me hear more and more. He's hearing in the second canto, the third canto from Maitreya, and he's still not satisfied. So, and like the materialist, that satisfaction can also burn the heart, that dissatisfaction. also burns the heart of the devotee in a sense. He's feeling, oh, I can't relish Krishna enough. I can't hear enough. No matter how much I want to hear more and more, I'm never satisfied. But that satisfaction is actually, that dissatisfaction, so-called, is actually the greatest satisfaction, because that dissatisfaction means you have no more interest in kamarupena, what is it? Kamarupena konteya dushparena nalenacha, because it means you have no more interest in satisfying your senses, which burns like fire and is never satisfied. Just like Prabhupada was speaking once, Prabhupada said, and we've probably heard this before, and Prabhupada said, why chant 16 rounds? Why just 16 rounds? So on the morning walk, Prabhupada is speaking, he says, quality. You will understand, first of all, come to the quantity. Without having quantity, how he'll understand the quality? You follow the instruction of your spiritual master of the Shastra. That is your duty. Quality, no quality. It is not your position to understand. When the quality comes, there is no force. You will have a taste for chanting. You will desire at that time, why 16 rounds? Why not 16,000 rounds? That is quality. That is quality. It is by force. You'll not do it. Therefore, at least 16 rounds. But when you come to the quality, you will feel yourself, why 16? Why not 16,000? That is quality automatically, just like Haridas Thakur was doing. He was not forced to do. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he requested, you are old enough now, you can reduce. So he refused. No, up to the end of my life, I shall go on. That is quality. So this is very nice. And the example of Haridas Thakur is very nice. We know at the end of his life, Mahaprabhu visited him. How's your health? What's your disease? And Haridas Thakur said, my disease is that I cannot finish my rounds. And Prabhupada says in the purport, the devotee that can't finish his rounds, he should be understood to be in a diseased condition of life. And Mahaprabhu, like Prabhupada mentions in this morning walk, he said, oh, you've chanted so much, you've preached. I can't remember the Bengali, but there's that beautiful verse glorifying Haridas Thakur, that some people preach but don't behave well. And some people behave well but don't preach. But Haridas Thakur is so perfect that his behavior is impeccable, and he also devoted himself to preaching the holy name. Therefore, he's the greatest Acharya because of that. So he said, oh, you've chanted so much, you don't need to chant anymore. And he said, no, I'm going to continue chanting. And because he had that quantity and that quality of chanting, therefore, just like for the materialist, lust and the senses burn like fire. So when Haridas Thakur was chanting and the rascal sent the woman to entice him, to sexually entice him, to fall down, he was not the least bit interested, because he was dissatisfied with his chanting and wanted to chant more and more and more and more. Therefore, had completely lost interest in material lust. And again, because he's not only performing the acts, but he's also the greatest preacher, he also delivered that woman from her sinful life and made her into a first-class devotee who also became a lover of chanting and couldn't chant enough. So this is the beauty of chanting Hare Krishna, of reading Srila Prabhupada's books, that if we live our lives properly according to Prabhupada's direction, and if we go on tasting it, even if first we don't have the taste, like Prabhupada says, it is in the beginning, it is by force. I don't have the taste. So it's by force. Chant your rounds, make some time for reading Prabhupada's books. You force it, but then by that force, as described by Rupa Goswami, just like when you have jaundice. I also had jaundice once in Vrindavan many years ago. And they say when you have jaundice, you lose your taste for eating. Everything tastes bitter. I don't remember everything tasting bitter, but I remember completely losing the taste and the enthusiasm and even the ability to eat anything. And looking at my fat face now, you might not believe it, but I lost a lot of weight. I was really skin and bones and yellow. I would go to Lowy Bazaar and people would point at me at how yellow I was from the jaundice. So Rupa Goswami describes it when you have jaundice, the process, at least the folk remedy process, is that you eat sugar candy because the idea is that the sugar candy stimulates your liver. And by stimulating your liver, then it's able to properly excrete the bile. So that way the bile won't build up in your blood. And even though because of that jaundice, you have no taste for sugar candy. Everyone loves sugar candy. Everyone likes something sweet. But when you have jaundice, you have no taste. But if by force you eat it and you eat it and you eat it, it will cure your jaundice. And as the bile in your blood is going down, 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 then gradually the relish for the sugar candy goes up, up, up. And as we chant and live a life of devotional service, and our taste and our jaundice goes away, the bile of Nitya Vairina Kamarupena, this eternal enemy of lust, as it goes down, 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 then we could relish more and more. Our natural taste for Krishna consciousness goes up, 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 up. Another beautiful description. This is from the description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Mahaprabhu's appearance. This is Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 20. Se panchatattva mili prithivi ashiya. Purva prema bandarera mudra ugadiya. Panche mile lute prema kare aswadana. Yata yata pie Trishna bade anukshana. The characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came when with Krishna, when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his associates of the Panchatattva, they broke the seal and plundered that storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. So Krishna came and he distributed his amazing, beautiful, wonderful pastimes, but it was really largely restricted at the time to those who were his eternal associates in Goloka, in the spiritual world, in Vrindavan. It was mostly limited. But Mahaprabhu came and he broke the seal on that storehouse and he's distributed it to everyone in Bengal, everyone all over India, and then through Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and our Srila Prabhupada all over the world. He plundered that storehouse and distributed it freely, even to those like us who were not at all qualified. And again, they were doing that activity of preaching, but they were also relishing. This is very beautiful. Yata yata piye, Trishna badu anukshata. Yata yata piye means, yata yata means like as they continued, piye to drink, as they drank that nectar of love of God, which they had plundered. Yata yata piye, as they drank more and more, Trishna bade anukshana. At the same time, their thirst for it increased. Like I said about the glub jamuns, the more you eat, your thirst for them actually goes down. But yate yate piye, Krishna consciousness, Krishna kata, Krishna's holy name, the more you drink, the more you taste, your thirst for it increases. This is the difference between the dissatisfaction of the materialist and the dissatisfaction of the devotee. The more you drink yate piye, as they drank drop by drop by drop, their thirst for it increased step by step by step, up, up, up. Kshana, anukshana means at every moment as they drank some, their desire increased. They drank some, their desire increased. This is the quality. Prabhupada talked about quantity and quality. This is the quality that the taste for it increases. Just like also in Nectar of Devotion, in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada starts describing Raganuga Bhakti in the early chapters. And he says, just like in the beginning, a person may not want to get up early, I'm exposing myself as a rascal here because I very rarely go to Mangalartik, but he says a devotee he may not want to, he may not have the taste to. He gets up early and goes to Mangalartik. But then as he does that, he starts thinking, oh, he seems to be talking about the pujari. Oh, I'll serve Krishna this way. I'll go to the temple. I'll serve Krishna this way. I'll decorate the deity in this way. And he says, this is Raganuga Bhakti. Now, this is not the full description of Raganuga Bhakti. It's more than just, one particular service you're into. But it's the idea of Raganuga Bhakti is that it's spontaneous. It's not just by order. It's not just by force. So what's that again? Yes, Trishna Bade Anukshana. As the Panchatattva they drank, then Trishna, their thirst, increases. Trishna means thirst. And this is also a word that's used, just like I said, the materialists and the devotees both have their dissatisfaction. So the materialists and the devotees both have their thirst. And I think that's like slang now, right? They say when someone's thirsty, that's like a slang word. It means the person's lusty or they want to, find some partner for sex or whatever. They call that thirsty. So this thirst, the Vedas were describing this thousands of years ago, that this material thirst. And if you have that material thirst, then you can't taste that other thirst for Krishna consciousness, for chanting, for hearing. Nivritta tarsher upagiyamana. Nivritta tarsher. Tarsher, Trishna is the same word in different form. Nivritta tarsher upagiyamana. Bhavoshadat chochamano biramat. That those who have given up the thirst for material life, for material sense gratification, and hear about Krishna upagiyamanat, receiving it in disciplic succession from spiritual master to disciple, down, down, down. Hear it in that proper way. Bhavoshadat shotramano biramat. That's the right, bhavoshadi means the right medicine for curing this disease of material life. It's the right medicine, and it mano biraman, and it's so pleasing and so satisfying to the mind. The Trishna, the material thirst, which is dushparena nalenacha, which never is satisfied, and it burns like fire. Bhavochadat chotramano biramat. That the medicine of hearing about Krishna completely eradicates that fire and eradicates that material dissatisfaction. Kautama shloka gunanuvadat, hearing about the qualities and the pastimes and the quality, pastimes, form, and all the descriptions of Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is glorified by the choicest, most beautiful Vedic verses. That means we hear about him from the Shastra and from those who are explaining Shastra. Ka Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadat. And who will hear that? Puman virajeta vina pashugna. Everyone will want to hear this, to give up this material sense gratification, this dissatisfaction of material life, for the full satisfaction of Krishna consciousness. Any person would want to do this, except vina pashugnat. Vina pashugnat means pashugna means the killer of an animal. So like a butcher or a meat eater may not want to do this because they're so contaminated by the violence of their life and the sinfulness of their life. They're so contaminated that it's very difficult for them to take to this process. And pashugnat also means, figuratively, means not just the killer of animals, but the killer of the soul. Someone who's killing their own soul through a life completely devoted to materialism and sense gratification. It's very difficult. But those devotees who are drinking the nectar, like the Panchatattva, drinking the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, of Mahaprabhu's pastimes, having plundered the storehouse of love of Krishna, they're relishing it so much that they can't help but try to give it to others, knowing what they're missing out on. So this is this kind of hearing about Krishna. Although you're dissatisfied in the sense that you want to hear more and more and you've never had enough, you'll never say, I'm done hearing about Krishna. I'm done serving Krishna. I've done enough. A real devotee will never say that. But that so-called dissatisfaction is actually the satisfaction and bliss of the devotee, that all they want is Krishna. And that's the sign that we're advancing in devotional service. There's a nice incident in Srila Rupa Goswami's Vidagdha Madhava. Nandi Mukhi was talking to Purnamasi. Purnamasi is her grandmother, I think. And they were talking, making plans to serve Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. And Nandi Mukhi, Purnamasi says to Nandi Mukhi, Nandi, you have to assist me in making arrangements so that Radha and Krishna were very young at this time. Purnamasi said, Nandi, you help me make these arrangements. And she's making the arrangements because she's Krishna's Yoga Maya. She's making all the arrangements in Vrindavan. You help me make arrangements so that Radhika can fall in love with Krishna. Nandamukhi says, there's no need for that. Radharani already loves Krishna so much at the topmost level that no one can even approach her level of loving Krishna. So Purnamasi challenges her. How do you know that this is true? What's your evidence that this is true? And Nandamukhi says, because I've seen just by one time hearing the name of Krishna, she became stunned in ecstasy. And Purnamasi says, yes, you are correct. And then she quoted the famous verse, which is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Tunde tandavani ratim vitanute, tundavali labdaye. Karna kroda kadambani gatayate, karnarbudebhyaspriham, cheta prangana sangini vijayate, sarvendriyanam kritim, no jane janita kiyad biramritai, krishneti varna dwayi. She says, I do not know, no jane, no jane janita, I don't know, and I can't even conceive, I can't even understand how much nectar there is in Varna Dwayi, in these two syllables, Krishna, just two syllables. Krishna, two syllables, but I cannot estimate how much nectar there is in those two syllables of that one name, Krishna. When one chants the holy name, when the holy name dances in the mouth, then Tundavali, Tunde Tandavani Ratim Vitanute Tundavali Labdaye. When Tundavali, and Rati means to relish, to taste, like in today's verse. The verse talks about Ajita, Vidura's taste for hearing about Krishna. This Rati is the same thing. That when you have that taste and Krishna is Tunde Tandavani and the holy name is dancing on your tongue, then Tundavali Labdhaye. Then you desire many, many tongues. One tongue, you're so dissatisfied that one tongue isn't enough. Tundavali, just like this word avali means like a group of something or a string of something. Just like Deepavali, right? Deepa is a lamp. And Deepavali means you have rows and rows of lamps for the festival. So Tundavali means you want mouth after mouth after mouth and tongue after tongue after tongue to vibrate the holy name. Then if I had that many tongues, then maybe I could be satisfied chanting the holy name. And it goes on, Karna Kroda Kadambini Gatayate, Karnar Budebhyaspriham. And when the holy name enters my ears, what can I relish with this nonsense? Only 2 ears? There's so much nectar in the 2 syllables, Krishna. 2 ears cannot drink that much nectar. I want Karnar Budebhyaspriham. Arbuda means 10 million in Sanskrit numbers. I want 10 million ears. If I had 10 million ears, then maybe I could begin a little bit to relish the hearing of Krishna's holy name. Then maybe that could happen. And when, even with just these 2 ears, when the holy name enters those ears, and it enters the ears, and then the holy name through the ears enters into the courtyard of the heart and dances in the courtyard of the heart, Chaita prangana sangini vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim. Sarvendriyanam, all of the material senses, vijayate, they become conquered. To conquer the senses is so difficult just by willpower. Anyone who's made like a mundane vow, okay, I'm gonna cut down my calories so I could lose weight, or I'm not gonna eat this thing or that thing, or I'm not gonna do this thing or that thing. Very difficult to conquer the senses. It's almost like a trope, like a joke that you make your you make your New Year's resolution, and by January 2nd, it's all out the window, right? So that's how difficult it is. But when the holy name enters the heart, Vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim, all of the senses are immediately conquered. Chaita prangana, and the mundane consciousness becomes completely nullified or stultified, becomes completely subdued, and all the material senses become completely subdued by that. And therefore, no jane janita kiadbir amritai. I do not know how much nectar there is in those 2 names, Krishna. So that kind of relishing, Nivrita Tarsher, you give up the material thirst and you develop this thirst for chanting, like Vidur, the best Kauravya, the best of the Kauravas. Then we're talking about a whole new world of Krishna consciousness. And this is the transition it's a transition, but it's not like one step you're on one side and then another step in you're on the other side. It's a gradual progression from, like Prabhupada says, just quantity, that, okay, I have to do this, and then quality, I want to do this. It's a gradual step. Just like Prabhupada gave the example of the pujari, who first is serving out of duty, and then he thinks, oh, let me serve Krishna in this way and that way, and let me make a dress, and let me do a garland and a decoration. So this is how it progresses, by getting a taste, through getting a taste. And just like also described in Bhagavad Gita, that if you try to control the senses, but you do not have that taste, then you're sort of a cheater. But now someone refresh my memory on the Sanskrit, but getting a higher taste, then you can naturally conquer the senses when you get a higher taste for Krishna. How's that verse start? Someone help me out. I'm having a senior moment. No? Param Drishvan Navartate, how's it start? Oh, Vishaya Vinivartante Niraharasidehinam Raso Varjam Raso Pyasya Param Drishvan Navartate. That if you don't have a taste, then even if you're able to, for a little while, to control the senses externally, it won't last, and it's not real, it's not solid. But if you get a higher taste, then automatically the senses all become controlled. Just like Purnamasi is describing, when the holy name actually enters the heart. And to really enter the heart, then your ears have to be mad to drink it in. It's described like the cows of Vrindavan, that their ears are like cups. You see cows more than humans. Their ears are like cups. And when Krishna calls them by name, or when Krishna plays his flute, with those cup-like ears, they're drinking in the beauty of Krishna's flute playing and the beauty and love of Krishna calling the cows by name. So when our ears are like that, then the holy name can enter our heart and stun our material life, and then our relish for Krishna can really take off. And this is not just a solo endeavor. This is done in the association of devotees. That's why we have Prabhupada instituting a morning class, that we could all hear and read and study together. And just like yesterday, there's a very nice reading group here in Alachua, reading Prabhupada's books in a group, and now we're reading Krishna book, and it's so wonderful to hear it in association of devotees. So that's Bhagavad Gita says that. Madchita madgata prana bodhayantak parasparam. Madchita, my devotees, their madchita, their minds are absorbed in me. This is the process of Shravanam. Bodhayantak parasparam, katayantas chamam nityam. So bodhayanta and kataya, that madchita is Shravanam, is Smaranam, and bodhayanta and kata is Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. And parasparam, this word is explains. Para means other or something else. So para is other. Paraspara means others in others. So what does that mean? It means in a group, we're each with others, between others, from one to another. We're discussing Krishna. We're talking about Krishna. We're hearing about Krishna in a group, exchanging, just like as much as glorified as Vidura is for his taste for hearing. There's also Maitreya with his amazing ability and his amazing taste for chanting, or Shukadev and Parikshit. It takes both of them. That's parasparam, that other and other, that the devotees are sharing with each other. Madchita madgata prana bodhayantak parasparam, meditating on Krishna, hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna. In exchange, in the group of devotees, bodhayantak parasparam, katayantas chamam nityam, and they're doing this nityam. Katayantas chamam nityam. Nitya is also interesting. Nitya means eternally. So Nitya means eternally. So we're hearing and chanting about Krishna. We're doing it eternally. There's never a time when we think, okay, I'm done. I don't have that was my sadhana. That was my sadhana to attain some goal. And now I've attained the goal. I don't have to hear and chant anymore. No. Nityam. This is the difference between bhakti and the karma process, and between bhakti and the yoga or the meditative process. It's not just a process to receive some goal, but it is the goal. The process is the goal. As Prabhupada said, chanting leads to chanting. Kathayantas chamam nityam. So it never ends. And nityam also means all the time. That constantly hearing and chanting about Krishna at every moment. One time Prabhupada said that you just sit down in the temple, and if there's some class, there's some kata, there's some kirtan, you just sit in the temple and it comes and you hear it. You hear that class. And he says, even you don't understand. Understanding is not a very important thing. So that's an astounding statement in itself, that understanding is not important. Prabhupada said about himself when he approached Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that he didn't understand him, what he was saying much of the time, because he spoke on such a high level. But he had the taste for hearing from him. And because that, Bhaktisiddhanta marked him. Yes, I have marked him. He likes to hear. And because he liked to hear, he became the most expert preacher in the world and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So this is the point, to like to hear, not just to love Krishna, but to like Krishna, to want to hear about him, to want to chant about him. So this is also nitya. And another meaning of nitya is regularly. That, okay, I'm not going to chant and hear about him 24 hours a day. I have to sleep. I have a job. I have material contaminations of all sorts of various kinds. So maybe I'm not going to do it 24 hours a day, but at least regularly, I have a schedule that every day I make time to chant. Every day I make time to study Prabhupada's books. And the more we do that, then our desire to do it will also increase more and more. Machita Magita Prana Bodhayantak Parasparam Kathayantas Chamam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. And by doing that, the devotees, they get the greatest pleasure and the greatest satisfaction. Even though they're never satisfied in the sense of never having heard enough, but still they're completely satisfied just hearing about Krishna. Madgata Prana, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, commenting on that Bhagavad Gita verse. Let's see what time it is here. Okay, little running out of time. He talks about this Gata Prana, that prana, Gata Prana means Gata is the goal. So the goal or the purpose or the means of prana of one's life. And he quotes one verse that Ana Gata Prana Nara. Anagata prananara. So prananara means the life of the man, of the person, of the human being. Anagata happens through ana, through food. So just as a person bodily survives by food, in the same way the devotee survives through Krishna Kata. And in that connection, this is a beautiful verse also from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I like very much, which also uses this analogy of eating to describe how we want to hear and chant about Krishna. This is from Mahaprabhu's teachings to, this is from the residents of Varanasi become Vaishnavas. Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 278. Ye lila amrita vine kaya yadi anapane. That same word, ana, food. Tabe bhaktera durbal jivan. Yara eka bindu pane. Utpalita tanumane. Hase gaya karye nartan. This is so beautiful. Ye lila amrita vine. Kaya yadi anapane. If one is without eating the food of Lila Amrita, of the nectar of the pastimes of Krishna, then just like Kaya Yadi Anapane, a person physically, biologically becomes strong and healthy by eating food. Tabe Bhaktera Durbal Jivan. But if you don't drink the nectar and eat the nectar, consume the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, then Bhaktera Durbal Jivan. Again, this prefix du. Bal, we know Bal like Balaram. Bala means strength. Durbal means to become weak. So just like a person becomes weak by not eating properly, similarly, the devotee becomes weak by not regularly imbibing Krishna Kata. Yeah, and if he does drink that Krishna Kata, Yare Ika Bindu Pane, even if he takes one drop of drinking Krishna Kata, of tasting Krishna Kata, Utpalita Tanu Mane, then his whole existence, Utpalita blossoms like a blossoming flower. His whole existence, body, mind, and words all blossom in ecstasy. And Hase, Gaya, Karye Nartan. Then he laughs, he sings, and he dances in ecstasy. So just like a person becomes weak by not eating properly, and not eating properly means not eating enough, and not eating properly also means eating the wrong things. So by doing either of those, then your health declines and your body becomes weak. But and in the same way, a devotee that does not regularly hear and chant about Krishna, his position as a devotee will also weaken and weaken. And in that weakened state, just like a materially weak person is susceptible to disease, we become susceptible to Maya. But Bhavoshadi, from the previous Bhagavatam verse, Bhavoshadi, because this Krishna Kata is the medicine for this material disease, that Eka Bindu Pani, even you take one drop of that nectar, and immediately your spiritual health blossoms. And when it does, you think, oh, if one drop does this, let me drink more and more and more, and you're never satisfied, but at the same time, you're completely, fully satisfied. So this is the beautiful example of Vidura, that he's so much relishing hearing like this. And it could be Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. It could be, as we've been hearing, the Virat Rupa, Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan, the successes and failures of Lord Brahma, the process of creation. all of this is so beautiful and so relishable because it's all about Krishna. There's also a nice verse in the very beginning of Bhagavatam, in the first canto, second chapter, where the sages tell Sutta Goswami they had heard about Parikshit Maharaj becoming king and how he met the personality of Kali. And the sages said to him, they said, tell us more about this if it's related to Krishna. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that these sages, these are very elevated sages, they have no interest in hearing about some low Sudra beating a cow. This is not something they want to hear about. But if it's connected with Krishna, they want to hear about it. Then they want to hear about it. And then we hear the whole story of Parikshit meeting Kali, challenging Kali, defeating Kali. So same with us, we want to attain this, we want to hear this. We want to, by rules and regulations, make ourselves do it, and then gradually more and more we'll get a taste and we'll think, why 16 rounds? Why not 16,000s of rounds? Why just a morning class of an hour? Let me read Bhagavatam, study Bhagavatam more and more. Anyway, there's more. I had more, but it's getting late, and I think I think my thesis statement of this class is there. So thank you very much, everybody, for your very kind attention. If there's any questions or comments or discussion, we can do that now.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Very nice class. Now, I don't want you to end this class, no? We just keep on. I want to go keep on hearing.
The class will end, but the Krishna Katha will continue.
That's what
as much as we can, as much as we want.
Yeah, but I'm really in this short of time. It's not enough for this Krishna Katha.
That means you're advanced. If you're thinking, I don't have enough time, I could do more. 24 hours a day isn't enough.
That's true. That's true.
To hear.
Mostly I do like 24 hours.
That's a very good sign.
I don't know whether good sign or not, but that is a nectar. And you start like your rasgulla, gulab jamun. But the more you eat, the more we feel like, that the crave is there. Not never ending this thing, Prabhu. And today, the way you are telling, is really, really, we want to drink that nectar forever. So, this human life, I don't know why we had this. And sometimes I feel I should keep on going hearing this nectar.
Yeah, we have this human life due to good fortune, because the human life gives us a chance to do this.
Yes.
In other species, it's impossible or practically impossible.
I'm so blessed to just start my day with Krishna Katha every morning. So that's why just curiously I sit in front of my iPad, I want to start before anybody starts, and I want to be there. That's what every morning when I listen to. Some days Prabhu's was asked me to sing the Jayarada Madhava. So that is more blessing for me. Oh God, I am so blessed today morning and just starting with singing that Jayarada Madhava. And that too, senior devotees and Prabhus asked me. And I am so blessed with that. And I cannot explain how much I feel, Prabhu. Every day morning, listening to Krishna Katha. And
you are blessed. You are blessed, and just like the way Krishna Katha works, that you plunder the storehouse of love of Krishna, you relish it yourself, and then you distribute it. So you're blessed to do that, and we're blessed to hear you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much for nice.
Thank you. Any other questions or comment?
I just wanted to echo how that was a really uplifting class. Sometimes we get, we get on topics of the false ego, and we get topics of the, material senses and how they. But this was, and those are all important, and we need to hear those. But kind of the positive side of it is this relishing of Krishna consciousness and the simplicity of it. And I really like the example of, just going into a kirtan and listening, or going into a class and just listening, and don't overthink it. Don't try to analyze it. Just try to become absorbed. And that's a simple step that I think that we can all begin to practice in helping. That's something that really stuck with me that you said. But I really like this. It was very, like I said, very uplifting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Well expressed, well put. That's why I was so happy to get this verse. Like I said, all the other things are important. Even like last week, we were talking about, who gets punished, who doesn't get punished. We have to deal with these things also. But if we don't have what's the other? Dharma swanustitak pumsam visvakshena katasya note padayadhyatiratim shrama evi kevalam. That even if we do all those things, but if we don't get the taste for hearing and chanting, then we're missing the point. So, we have to talk about those other things. But for me, and hopefully for others, it was refreshing just to, focus on this core principle that we want to hear about Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare
It was
Krishna.
very encouraging, actually, and you went so much deep into the bhakti, so it really pushes us, encourages us to do the more bhakti, actually. There is no other solution, of course, in this world. So thank you very much, really. I really enjoyed the class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. You're very kind. Okay. Thank you very much for your very kind attention. I appreciate you all attending. I hope everyone has a good day up there in Philly. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Everyone have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.